My name is Devin Jones. I write for the Sparks Tribune. That is sparkstribune.org. Spell Sparks with an X, Sparks with an X, Tribune.org. And follow me on Twitter at Hippie Activist. That's hippie with a Y. Hippie Activist on Twitter. Pardon me. And I'd like to discuss something of extreme detrimental importance, namely money in politics. Now, I intended on covering this issue in depth. I had been in the process of an in-depth investigation into this issue, and will, by the way, release a series of articles because there's so much information that needs to be covered. Because there's so much information that needs to be covered, this will be released in a series of articles per political party and by PAC, Super PAC. It will be released in parts on the website in written articles. But because of the relevance of this particular piece of information that I ran across in the midst of my study, I felt this needed to be put out separately in a very special segment. So, as it relates to the media and the media's contribution to campaigns, and I think that's particularly relevant because those of us on the progressive left have already been well aware of the media's bias during the Democratic primaries and the coverage of ABC or NBC, MSNBC, CNN, etc., during the Democratic Party's primaries, even during the general election, the way that the mainstream media played their games, even during the general election, specifically during the primaries, though. And the way that they played their game, it somewhat came to light while I was doing this research, and pardon me again. But I think you should be aware of this. I think it's very much relevant. By the way, before I get into it, though, I'd like to give credit to the Center for Responsive Politics because this is where this information comes from. It's an incredible resource. OpenSecrets.org, and the information is it's an encyclopedia of information. It's an excellent resource. The Center for Responsive Politics, OpenSecrets.org. At any rate, jump right into it. Fred Eichaner donated $11 million. $11 million individually, by the way. That's as an individual, donated $11 million. His corporation, NewsWeb Corporation, donated over the course of 2016 election cycle, donated $38 million to various Democratic Party establishment causes in the 2016 election cycle. It's very relevant. NewsWeb Corporation is a media outlet. Various media outlets. They own several, some of which are based locally in Chicago. Others pretend to be, depending on your definition of alternative media outlets, pretend to be alternative media outlets. But at any rate, his corporation, NewsWeb Corporation, gave $38 million in the 2016 elections toward Hillary Clinton friendly, the one particular super PAC, Priorities USA Action. Priorities USA Action was the name of the super PAC to which I'm mainly focusing right now. Again, this is a lot of information, so I basically had to begin with one super PAC and move on from one super PAC to another super PAC, etc., because there's so much information to cover. You would be amazed, a lot of money in politics. Just to begin to delve into it, I already was well aware of the vast corruption of money in politics, and I was, quite frankly, myself amazed at what I was finding. At any rate, Newsweb Corporation, media company, the media here, donating $38 million in one campaign cycle to Hillary Clinton-friendly Democratic Party establishment. At any rate, okay. Next, Haim and Cheryl Saban, $11.2 million. Saban Entertainment. Haim and Cheryl Saban, that is their production company. Saban Entertainment. Saban Entertainment. Disney owns most of Saban Entertainment's productions, so the media productions. Disney owns most of their productions. Disney, as you might already know, owns ABC and hence ABC News. Okay? So when you hear, by the way, let's go there. When you hear on ABC News friendly, flowery coverage of Hillary Clinton or Hillary Clinton's campaign, be it quite aware that their parent company has donated to Hillary Clinton's campaign and has interest in the Hillary Clinton agenda. So when you see Hillary Clinton being covered with flowery coverage and no coverage whatsoever being given to Bernie Sanders or, other candidates in the race, what have you, be advised that their parent company, ABC's parent company, has a conflict of interest. Next on the list, there are plenty. I should move on. Time Warner. Time Warner donated $2.5 million. Time Warner, you might already know, owns Turner Broadcasting Group. Turner Broadcasting Group, as you may already know if you're watching this particular face, owns CNN. Now, when you watch CNN, therefore, and you realize, as many of us have on the progressive left, watch CNN and notice, all of this flowery coverage of the Hillary Clinton campaign and absolutely no coverage of Bernie Sanders. And when you do see coverage of Bernie Sanders, they're calling him a socialist, they're calling him a communist, they're giving him all of these nasty names. But all of this flowery coverage toward the Hillary Clinton campaign, well, be advised that their parent company donated $2.5 million toward the Hillary Clinton campaign. And the Sinclair Broadcast Group, $82,000. 21st Century Fox donated $639,000. But one of the most interesting things that I found, one of the main reasons that I decided that I should let you know about this specifically, was Comcast. And this is rather perturbing, if you will, if you care about corruption in government and in its relation to the media and the corrupt government's relation to the media. Comcast in particular donated $12.6 million toward establishment democracy or establishmentarian democratic values during the campaign. In just 2016 alone, mind you, $12.6 million. That's a lot of money. And spent, by the way, $14.3 million lobbying. Comcast spent $14.3 million lobbying alone. Donated $12.6 million toward campaigns in 2016 alone. That's a lot of millions. That's a lot of money. Why would Comcast spend that much money? Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Comcast, but those of us who are, especially those of us on the progressive left, might be aware of exactly why that is. On that same note, in that vein, 126 out of 147 lobbyists for Comcast have previously held government jobs. That is, by the way, 86%. 86% of Comcast lobbyists, or those lobbying the government at the behest of Comcast, have previously held government positions, have previously been in positions of power. Goody. 30 members of Congress own shares, own stocks in Comcast. Well, if that isn't a conflict of interest, how can you vote for the American people or make decisions for the American people with or without a conflict of interest toward institutionalism, toward aristocracy, toward corporatocracy? How can you make decisions at the behest of the American people if you own shares or stocks in the company which you may have to vote against? Bear that in mind. 30 members of Congress own stocks in Comcast. Susan Collins, Nancy Pelosi, David Perdue. I'm not going to read all of them. You can find this all out. Like I said, this is all sourced from the Center for Responsive Politics. Freedom of Information request is where they get their information from. This is valid information. But seriously, how can we possibly trust our politicians to make decent, respectable decisions? How can we trust them to represent us with such flagrant corruption? They own shares, they own stocks in Comcast. Are you serious? They're the media organizations particularly, which is what inspired me to do this video, apart from the information I was going to release. What inspired me to do this particular video in general, I wanted to focus on media organizations. So media organizations and their parent companies are donating to presidential campaigns, and we are shocked and appalled when we see preferential coverage toward particular candidates during the election cycle. Are we stupid? Are we going to play like we're ignorant? This is the game that's being played against us. Millions and millions of dollars funneled into presidential campaigns by media organizations, their parent companies, etc., against us, against we the people. And we're supposed to play like we don't know anything, and we're supposed to be shocked and appalled by the entire situation. But at any rate, I just figured you should know that. I figured that this was an important thing to discuss. All of the rest of the series that I'm in the midst of this study, money and politics. I'm going to do that I'm going to release that in parts, by super PAC, discuss money and politics in this super PAC and that super PAC, and go through the Democratic Party and then go through the Republican Party, etc. But, I just came across that and was frankly appalled, and I felt that you should know about this. So, at any rate, again, my name is Devin Jones. Follow me on Twitter at hippieactivist. That's hippie with a Y, activist. And check out the website. That's Sparks Tribune, Sparks with an X, tribune.org. And keep fighting.